Congressman Tim Griffin.
How you doing, man?
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We talked to Senator Bozeman the last half hour. I got to ask you, I couldn't believe the words I was hearing coming out of Hagel's mouth.
Well, I'll tell you, this is consistent, unfortunately, with what we've seen. If you go back, replay your tapes, I think you interviewed me on this, and you could talk to Bozeman about this and some others in the delegation. You know, we've had several battles that haven't made a lot of sense to us since I've been in Congress. Let's take the A-10. If you talk to folks in the Army in particular who are protected by what's overhead, meaning by aircraft and the Air Force, if you talk to folks who have been to Iraq or Afghanistan, they will tell you they would much rather have a low and slow flying A-10 anti-tank aircraft protecting them than something way 30,000 feet up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when they announced that they were going to get rid of all A-10s, we sort of looked around and said, well, do you have an analysis of why you think this will save you money and the impact and all? And you may remember this went on in the press back and forth for a while. They never could come up with any specific savings. It was almost like they were sitting around a table over there, and somebody pulled out a napkin and said, well, let's spitball some numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We had the same problem when they were going to kill what's called the AMP modernization program for C-130s. We asked and asked and asked. We met with 1 stars, 2 stars, 3 stars. Secretary of Defense ended up going over to the Senate. We all had a meeting. Couldn't get any answers. I don't know why they've announced what they've announced. I don't know. There are so many other ways to slice this and to ferret out true waste. You know, Dave, I like to say waste is a line item in a budget.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is waste crowds out good spending.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of waste that does not involve dismantling key components of our military structure at a time when I could argue the world is as dangerous as it's ever been.
It's more dangerous.
Yeah. So, this is not a big budget item, but it means a lot to a lot of people. I'll mention this. So I just introduced a bill to protect the commissary privileges of members, because our recent hearings show that your average member saves about $4,500 or so a year by having commissaries. And when people go in the military, they assume it's going to be there because it's something that's been there.
Well, you know, Congressman, here's what bothers me about the commissary. There's no taxpayers' money that's being used on it. It's done by a fee that the military members themselves pay.
Well, they've got some idea of how, and it's sort of lost on me, of why they are so been out of shape on this issue over at DOD. But I think they're dancing. The stuff that they're doing doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the good news. And I told people this: the president, and it happens every year. People get all ginned up about the president's budget. The president's budget is not irrelevant because it certainly shows what his vision is, and he does a lot of stuff without asking, and some of that's being challenged in court now. But the president's budget is the president's vision or lack of vision. It's not the law. And, he wants another round of BRAC. A lot of this stuff is going to be dead on arrival in the Congress. There'll be plenty of Democrats in the Senate. There'll be some that like it, but there'll be plenty that oppose some of this stuff. I would think the House definitely is going to find a lot of it completely objectionable. So, I don't think none of this should surprise us.
Right.
First of all, that it's in his budget,
right?
And second of all, despite all of his unilateral actions on Obamacare and other things, the House still plays a key role here, and a lot of this stuff's just not going to happen.
So can I say that I think that we might actually see some heavy-duty bipartisanship?
Yeah,
maybe the president won't want to see it, huh?
Objecting to it. But here's the thing, Dave, in terms of the process, the way this works is, as you know, he makes his proposal. Okay, fine. We're going to have, when we do budgets, we do our own budget. We don't adopt his budget. It's just his vision. It's like when my kids have their wish list for Christmas.
Right.
Sometimes they usually do get something on it, but we don't have to do that, right? And so, yes, it's his vision or his whatever, but it's not the law. And there will be lots of objections on Capitol Hill. I mean, look, I'm going to quote you the chairman of Armed Services Committee, Buck McKeon, and he's retiring. But this is a statement that he made, and this ought to scare everybody. And I think we've been preaching this for years, although we've made a little bit of progress on part of the budget. But the real drivers of the debt, as you know, is a lot of the what we call mandatory spending. But here's what he said, quote, "We're going to be spending more in interest on the debt in a couple of years than we do on national defense."
We talked about that yesterday here on this show.
I don't scare you.
Yeah, it does scare me. It scares me a lot. Other thing that scares me, and last question for you, is the whole thing, this kind of veiled threat against the National Guard.
Well, look, the National Guard plays a critical role, and both the National Guard and Reserve are some of the best money spent. And yes, I'm an 18-year Army Reserve officer, but put that aside, I will tell you, I've seen firsthand the Guard and the Reserve gives more bang for the buck. They have served honorably in Iraq and Afghanistan, and this is just that also is gonna find a lot of objection and resistance on Capitol Hill to that. Because if we want to be more efficient and save money, we ought to cherish the role that the Guard and Reserve play. Because they are what we call force multipliers. Mm-hmm. Because they do a lot for a little.
Absolutely.
They're
cost effective.
The president's he's on the wrong track.
Last thing, did you see the new terminology for the Obamacare individual mandate tax?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they have a new terminology for it. This is in for the 2015 taxes. This is from the IRS. It is called, are you ready?
I'm ready.
The shared responsibility payment.
Oh, great. That makes it feel so much better when it's coming out of my wallet.
Absolutely, it does. Congressman, thanks a lot. We appreciate it, buddy.
We'll see you up here soon.
We'll see you Wednesday, or Thursday, pardon me.
All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye now. All right, Congressman Tim. I love it. They haven't heard this yet. I just like dropping it on them. All right, it's Dave Elswick Show, KARN. Our thanks to the Congressman for giving us time.